Good afternoon everyone and welcome to Crucible Chat. Yes, it's Saturday, it's that time of the week where I get to rant about whatever the fuck it is I want. As usual, my name is Mike, otherwise known as the Gacha Addict, and today I have some utterly atrocious, and I mean really bad, Clash gameplay. I played a couple of matches and I was so shit, it was unbelievable. But I couldn't be bothered to redo them, so you get to see me sucking hard, like harder than I ever have in Destiny. It's actually incredible how bad I am. Anyway, on to today's subject. So, as usual, like I say, I can rant about whatever I want, and today we're going back to gaming, and I'm going to rant about remasters. Or re-releases. No, remasters. We'll count them as remasters. So, in the last generation of consoles, there was this little bit of a trend for some HD remasters of, like, PS2 era games. So you had, like, the Echo and Shadow of the Colossus ones, you had Silent Hill remastered, you had Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil Code Veronica re-released for the Xbox 360 and PS3, and by and large, most of them were a complete waste of time. The exception being Echo and Shadow of the Colossus, because they struggled on the PlayStation 2 and they actually just worked so well on the PS3. Clash. But the trend seems to be continuing into this new generation of consoles, and I'm a little bit annoyed by it, because it seems kind of cheap. For instance, just as a matter of course, I've got the Wikipedia up here for the release dates for games this year, and there's quite a few of them. For instance, so January has seen, in fact, has already seen Duke Nukem 3D re-released on PSN and PS Vita. There's the Resident Evil HD remaster coming out. Saints Row 4 re-elected for the PS4 and Xbox One. Grand Theft Auto 5 for Windows. What else there? Grim Fandango remastered. Heroes of Might and Magic 3 HD edition for tablets. What else is there? There's going to be... So, I mean, that's just January. In February... hang on a sec, I'm just having a look through here. Actually, there doesn't appear to be anything in February. No, there isn't. In April, you've got Dark Souls 2 remastered. Well, Scholar of the First Sin, so it's kind of like with a bit of expanded content in that. And I think there's DMC, so the Devil May Cry, the rebooted version, 2013 version. Plus, I think there is actually a Devil May Cry box set coming out, like the 4 original Capcom games. And to me, it just seems weird that this has become such a trend. In already announced, we're only a few days into 2015 at this point, and there's already like nearly 10 of them announced. March 17th, DMC Definitive Edition. Sorry, I just spotted that there. And to me, this sounds cheap, and this sounds like something I don't want to be a part of. Now, there is a distinct reason for this. I mean, these games that are being remastered came out, well, the vast majority of them came out not at the end of a console's life cycle. So I can understand for Dark Souls 2, okay, that was released when the current gen consoles were already out. You know, they started building that before the new ones were even contemplated. So yeah, they kind of split their user base there. So there's a lot of people who'd upgraded already when that game came out in March and never got a chance to play it. So that's fair enough. Grand Theft Auto 5, I can kind of see that one as well, because, you know, it was... Well, it was maybe 2 months before the PS4 and Xbox One came out. That game was released. It was September 2013. So again, that's right at the end of a console generation, and it was about a year later that they released the PS4 version. That one I can understand. Devil May Cry, or DMC, what is the point? Really, what is the point of that one? Because that was out in 2013, still fresh in a lot of people's memories. It's sold by the bucket load. You know, it sold really well for a Devil May Cry game, especially one that's a reboot. And then you go to ones like Grim Fandango. I mean, that is an absolute classic. I remember playing that on I think it was a Windows 95 machine way back in the day. One of the best Lucasfilm releases that there ever... not Lucasfilm, LucasArts, that's it. One of the best LucasArts releases that there ever was. But I don't see the need for it to be redone. All you're going to be doing is spending 20 quid to get the game to go on a little bit of a nostalgia trip. You know, there's nothing I'll be able to do in that game that I didn't do the first time around. It'll just look a bit prettier, because it will be on current technology. And this is what's annoying me, because... So for Grand Theft Auto 5 and Dark Souls 2, there was more content. You know, like with Grand Theft Auto 5, the re-release on the newer consoles meant in the Grand Theft Auto Online they can have like up to 30 players in certain matches, and with not Grand Theft Auto 2, Dark Souls 2, they're putting more content into it, so you get all the downloadable content bundled with it, and there's some extra story stuff to do as well, which is why it's called Scholar of the First Sin, which is actually I'm really interested to see what this new shit is. Having played Dark Souls 2 to death on the PS3, I used to play it on the PS4, but it's the older games. It's like I don't see the point of this. You know, it's like they're not going back and remastering like the old Mortal Kombat games that you had on the Mega Drive. You know, that kind of thing. But Grim Fandango was about that same time it was released, and I just don't understand why. There seems to me to be very little point in doing it. The same goes for Resident Evil. I mean, it was remade on the GameCube, and to me that was a pretty definitive version, but it was also pretty limited because, you know, players on the GameCube, there weren't as many as who had a PS2, so it would have been nice if we had that remake on the PS2 as well. And yes, playing it in 1080p 60 frames a second will be amazing and it'll look fantastic, but to me it's still rather pointless. I'd rather that Capcom moved on. So like next month in February they've got Resident Evil Revelations 2, which promises to be an actual proper Resident Evil experience again. So the point of doing the remaster of the very first game, I mean, bear in mind that Resident Evil came out in 1996. You know, it's 19 years old this year. At the very least, if they were going to remaster it, they could have waited to the 20th anniversary, don't you think? But either way, that's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make about that is it's a 19-year-old game. Everyone who loved it has already played it to death. And why bring new people to the franchise with a 19-year-old game? Why not, instead of spending all this money remastering Resident Evil, why not actually spend that money and make a good Resident Evil? Because everybody knows my opinion on this one. Resident Evil has not been good since Resident Evil 4. To me, that was the last good one. 5 had a few good moments. 6 was utter dross. Excuse me, my voice is going. Yeah, 6 was utter shit, to be fair. And ever since then, there's kind of been slowly circling the plug hole as a series, and I kind of wish they'd let it die or make a good one. It's like I don't have high hopes for Resident Evil 7. I really don't. But why bother with the first game again? Why not just make a good one? I think that's what I'm trying to say here. And it's like Grim Fandango again. There is no point to doing it. It was a great game back in the day, but will it translate well to modern times? Because you also have this issue of when you take a well-loved game that's steeped in nostalgia. I mean, games that people utterly adored back in the day, but their memories of it are never 100% accurate to what the game was like. Does that? I hope I'm making sense here, because I kind of worry that some people their eyes have rolled back in their heads about it now. But I'm trying to think of an old game I've played where it just wasn't as good. I should have really thought about this ahead of time. I'll tell you what, okay, so you could take Half-Life, the original Half-Life. Now, you ask anybody of, I'd probably say my age, around my age, mid-20s or above, and they'll have played the first Half-Life if they had a PC. And they'll have utterly adored it because there was nothing else out like it. And you could probably play it again, and obviously, yeah, you got the shonky graphics, so you could go through and play the Black Mesa mod, and you would have a perfectly solid shooter experience. But the first Half-Life was limited by the fact that that's kind of all it is. You know, it's like no one remembers the awful, awful platforming sections in Zen near the end of the game, or the fact that, you know, you could clip through walls, and there were so many little unfinished details to it. It was not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. But everyone kind of idolizes it as the greatest first-person shooter ever. That's a lie. Half-Life 2 is. But that's why I'm playing it again. But the point stands that people are idolizing these games, so companies are remaking them. And it just lends itself a disappointment that, again, apart from Echo and Shadow of the Colossus, there has not been an HD remaster I've played that has made me go, holy shit, that was amazing, why hasn't anybody done this before? Again, Echo and the Shadow of the Colossus, they struggled so much on the PlayStation 2, putting them on the PlayStation 3, they were, because they were so far advanced they were so far ahead of their time for the console hardware. But I'm kind of rambling about on this one. Really, the point I'm trying to make is I would rather games companies stop doing this whole remaking thing and actually just got around to making some decent games. I mean, 2014, if you had a new gen console, so if you had a PS4 and Xbox One, there was, for the majority of last year, there wasn't a lot of great games. I mean, I picked up my PS4 in June, and it took me until September when Destiny came out to actually buy another boxed game. I bought a few on PSN, but there wasn't anything good being released until the very end of last year. And now this year there are some really good games coming out. I'm definitely looking forward to Bloodborne. The hype is big with that one. Then there's Evolve and Dying Light. But there are just so many remasters coming out this year. I just kind of think, please stop doing this. Just make a fucking good new game. Anyway, if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. I'm going to wrap this up before I really start ranting about this. Yeah, if you agree with me, or even if you disagree with me, leave a note in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please do leave a like and subscribe. And come back for more Crucible Chat next week, where I have no idea what I'll be talking about, but it'll probably be a really good rant. For now, though, good night.